Okay, so today we're going to go over kind of proper squat technique as well as spotting technique. So when you're doing 1 rep max testing, or really any time you're getting into a squat bar or a squat movement pattern, when you're loading on your spine here with the barbell, the appropriate height for the barbell is going to be clavicle height. So you can kind of just walk up to it. This bar is at about clavicle height for me. So that's kind of the appropriate position. If you need to raise it higher or lower, do so for your athletes. Kind of another technique when you're getting under the bar, make sure it's centered. That's pretty self-explanatory. And then we want to create that shelf with our traps. So we're retracting and depressing those scapulas the whole entire time we're going up and down throughout our squat phase. Just maintaining a tight posture all the way from our base up top down to our toes. So once we get that bar loaded on top, so we got the clavicle height, we get underneath of it, create that shelf, and we're coming up. Taking 3 steps out, getting those feet in neutral alignment so they're aligned with each other. And then from here, we want to just slightly externally rotate our feet just to allow for that greater range of motion. And then right before we go down, we're going to take a big belly breath to create that intra-abdominal pressure to kind of just provide security and safety for that core spinal region. So a big belly breath here. Hold that all the way until we go all the way up, or all the way down and all the way up. So release at the top. Also remember, we're externally rotating our feet just a little bit. We want to drive those knees over top of where our toes are going. So I'm coming down, belly breath, coming down, driving those knees out over top of my toes. So now I'm going to have John come in here. He's going to do a squat for you while I show you kind of proper spotting technique. Okay, so now John's going to step back, take his 3 steps back. Now as a spotter, there's only one person that we only have to be able to spot on a 1 rep max, we're just going to follow the person down in their movement pattern, just kind of a double underhook. So as John goes down, I kind of just go down with him and make sure as long as he can come up, that's fine. But once he gets stuck, I'm double underhooking him and helping him push that weight back up. So John's going to simulate getting stuck. Okay, I notice he gets stuck. I just double underhook and just kind of really get underneath him and just trying to help him up. Okay, you can rack the bar. Now if you have 3 people and maybe you're working with athletes who are doing like 600, 700, 800 pounds, and one person's not going to be sufficient, and you have the ability to have 3 people, you can have 1 on this side of the barbell, 1 on this side of the barbell, and 1 in the technique I was just in. And that's kind of how you're spotting a 1 rep max on our squat here. Okay, the next one we're going to go over today is 1 rep max testing on a barbell bench. Also later I'll talk a little bit about spotting. So the big things that we're going to teach on 1 rep max, or technique, especially on bench, is the 5 points of contact. So 5 points of contact for bench are our right and left leg, or our feet into the ground, is each counted as 1. So we got 2 there. Our hips or butt, glute area, that's the 3rd one. Our upper thoracic region, shoulder blades, that's the 4th. And then our head against the bench is going to be the 5th one. So when we're getting under here in our bench, we want to maintain those 5 points of contact the whole time. A shoulder width for bench, or maybe slightly wider for a hand grip. And then when we pick that up off the bar here, when we lower it down to our chest, we don't want to see any of a bounce. So we want to lower it nice and low when it touches our chest, and then press it up, okay? We don't want to see it where we bounce and come up just for safety reasons. We need to be able to control the weight through a whole range of motion. And then I'm going to go over spot technique on bench right now. Okay, now we're going to show how to spot a bench. Okay, so when John's 1 rep max in here, he picks this up, I help him take it up off the bar. We're an over-under grip on our barbell when we're spotting. And I'm just going to kind of go down with him. My hands aren't on the bar, but they're ready in case he fails. So John goes down, I'm not touching, he comes all the way up. Okay, that's easy, but I'm gonna show John get stuck here now. So he's gonna get stuck on the way up. He can't pull, so I'm gonna pull it up and help him rack it from there. Again, that's kind of the technique on our spotting when we're working with 1 rep max testing. Okay, so our next machine here in 467 that you will do max strength testing on, or repetitions of 10 max, is our leg extension machine. Our big thing on here is when the lever that's moving actually right here is in line with the lateral part of our knee compartment. So I don't know if you can really see this, but you all understand from anatomical positioning, it's kind of right at the lateral side of where our knee is actually performing the movement. We don't want it in the midpoint of our thigh or in front of our knee, so you'll have to adjust the pad accordingly to how tall all of your clients and subjects are. And then again on this, you're grasping the handles on the side here, and we're not seeing any arch in our back, and our hips or glute area does not come up off the machine. That would kind of be improper biomechanical movement pattern, so we don't want to do that. This is really to isolate our quadriceps, so we really want to be implanted in the machine, make sure our grip's good, we're down in the seat, our back doesn't come off, and our hips don't raise off the bench or off the pad here. And we're just performing nice, slow, controlled movement reps again. All the way down, all the way up through an entire range of motion. That's kind of what we're looking for. Okay, now we're on kind of a chest press machine. Maybe the reason why you're using this to do repetition max test instead of your bench press. If you're working with older clients or younger clients who don't have that neurological adaptation of being able to balance the barbell or dumbbells or whatever you're using, machines kind of take that balance out because they're self-balancing. So when you're lining up again, your 5 points of contact, right leg, left leg, hips, thoracic region, and our head here. So we're all pressed down against this, feet firmly into the floor. We're pressing all the way up, coming all the way down nice and slow. You can stop at a 90-degree joint angle in your elbows here, just because I feel a little bit of discomfort when I go all the way down through the range of motion. Kind of rolls my shoulders forward anteriorly and puts a lot of pressure on my AC compartment here. So I'm going to stop at about a 90-degree joint angle when I come all the way up. I'm going to stop at about a 90, maybe a little farther if you feel comfortable, and then we're pressing all the way back up. That's kind of what we're looking for in our chest press machine. Okay, so our next machine that you'll be doing a 1 rep max testing on at 467 is our leg press machine. Again, if you're using the barbell, you probably don't need to be doing a leg press machine test as well. That's kind of up to you and what client you're using. Again, the neurological adaptations are probably going to require to be greater on our barbell as opposed to our machine, because our machine is self-balancing again. So when we get into this machine here, I would suggest 90-degree joint angles again. That's just kind of what I like to coach at. Other people will tell you differently, but when I'm lining up here, I really like to almost have them start in a 90-degree. The big thing will be to not have them start too deep that they can barely get into the machine, or too shallow so when they're pressing, they're only pressing through a small range of motion. Again, you're going to have both feet about shoulder width apart, slightly externally rotated. We're driving those knees out over the toes, even on our squat press machine. Hands firmly gripping here, chest up, nice and wide, back into the back pad, head in a neutral position, driving those knees out over the toes, coming to a 90, pressing all the way straight. That's kind of what we're looking for in our squat press machine. Okay, the next machine we're doing is hamstring curl machine. Again, this is where all the machine is moving, and that's the point of axis. So we want to line that up with the lateral part of our knee here. So when we get into this machine, and I'm working with clients at different heights, we got to make sure this is kind of lined up right here, and it is. So I'm in a good position. Again, chest, head up, everything like that, grabbing right here, making sure we're tight. The big thing that we kind of see on these machines, we want to put this nice and tight down on our quadriceps so we're not able to raise those up, so really isolate our hamstrings. So when we go to curl down, we don't want to roll our back off the pad and arch our hips up to be able to get this weight down. We want to simulate a nice isolated hamstring curls, so the only muscle that is really working here are our hamstrings, because they're being isolated. Really squeeze, pull, and contract. Nice and slow all the way up, nice and slow all the way down. That's kind of what we're looking for in our hamstring curl machine. Okay, our next movement pattern or machine that we'll be using is our lat pull down machine. The big thing here is going to be retract and depress those scapulas right before we're setting to pull down. Just kind of isolate those shoulder blades so we're really isolating our lats. So when we get into this machine here, this is key to keep us tight and keep us down on the pad. So we're going to do a little bit wider than the shoulder width grip. We're going to get into this machine here. The big thing we want to see is we're not going to pull it behind our head. We're just going to pull it right in front to our chest here. So I'm going to slightly arch and lean my back after I set and retract those shoulder blades down. Slightly lean back, pull, and squeeze those lats in contraction. Then let those shoulder blades relax. We're going to retract and depress again right before we pull all the way down and squeeze. That's kind of our nice pattern on how we're going to get those lats isolated in our lat pull down. Okay, so kind of what we were talking about, that slight arch in our more thoracic region. So when we go to pull down, we don't want to kind of be straight pulling up like this. We want to give that little range of motion. So we're going to slightly lean back. We're going to retract and depress those scapulas, slightly lean back, pull, open that up so we can really squeeze and get that horizontal abduction in, or adduction in when we're pulling and squeezing back here. Okay, so one of our last ones we're going to do here is a bicep curl. I guess the big thing here is just maintaining and being tight with our core. We're always wanting to be tight with our core. And then we're just going to be elbows tight to our sides here. Squeeze, pull all the way up, get that nice contraction, nice and slow all the way down until our biceps are fully stretched back out. Recontract, bring it all the way back to the top. There's not a ton of bicep curls, just making sure you get that nice contraction at the top and it's nice and slow all the way down, and we're not swinging to see that bicep curl. Okay, and the last one today we're going to go over is our tricep extension. Again, we want those elbows down tight to our side. We're really moving through a range of motion through our elbows. We really want to pull those down to our side here. Nice pull, straighten all the way out until you can feel the contraction back in your triceps back here. If the weight's too heavy and we can't get that full contraction, we're going to want to lower that weight. That way we can get those arms fully extended all the way down. Remember, our triceps attach all the way up back here. So realistically, we want to get that full stretch of our triceps. So we want to allow those to come all the way up to get that full stretch here, to really stretch those fibers before we're pulling all the way down and through. We can also really pull and squeeze all the way down and through with that contraction all the way up through back here. A lot of people on their tricep extensions will just come up and down right here, but we got to remember the attachments of both of our triceps run all the way, all the way back up here. So in order to get that full stretch, we got to be a little elongated. So we pull down, squeeze and contract. We're getting that full contraction all the way up to the top.